Hey everyone, and welcome to today's deep dive.
Yes.
All about divine design.
Okay.
So we're going to be exploring, is it just coincidence or is there a higher power kind of orchestrating these things in our lives?
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking at a talk called By Divine Design by Elder Ronald A. Rasband.
Oh, okay.
Back in October 2017.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think this is something that can make you look at your everyday life a little differently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think about it,
right?
It really makes you wonder.
Yeah, and he starts off with a pretty bold statement. He says, the Lord's hand is guiding you.
Wow.
And not just like the big moments,
I-
but like even the small details
Oh, interesting.
of your life.
Okay, so like everything, basically.
Yeah, and he gives this example from the Book of Mormon about Alma meeting Amulek.
Oh, yeah, I remember that story.
So Alma's told by an angel to go preach in Ammonihah.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets there.
Right.
And he's hungry.
Sure, yeah.
And he's like, can I have some food? Yeah. And he just asks this random person.
Oh, wow.
And it turns out that person is Amulek.
What a coincidence.
Who becomes his missionary companion.
No way. So that like...
And it's like this huge mission is set into motion.
Right, it's like it was meant to be.
From this, what seems like a chance encounter.
Yeah. You don't really think about those little things.
Yeah, and Elder Rasband points this out. He says that coincidence is not an appropriate word to describe the workings of an omniscient God.
That's powerful.
Quoting Elder Neal A. Maxwell, basically saying that God doesn't leave things to chance.
Mm-hmm.
He's actively involved.
That makes you feel like safe in a way.
Yeah, like you're not just subject to the whims of fate. It's
There's
like
a plan.
There's a plan, and actually he uses this analogy of a chessboard.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
So it's kind of like God's the chess player.
Okay.
And we're the pieces.
Uh-huh.
And he's kind of moving us around strategically to help us grow and reach our full potential.
So he sees the bigger picture.
Yeah, we might just see
He's focused on our little square.
our little move.
Yeah.
But he's seeing the whole board.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like God is this master strategist.
Wow.
But how does this actually play out in our lives?
Yeah, like what does it actually look like?
Well, he gives another example from the scriptures.
Okay.
Nephi retrieving the plates of Laban.
Oh, yeah, I know that story.
So Nephi's tasked with getting these sacred records from Laban.
Right.
And Laban's like, no.
Yeah.
And tries to kill him.
Oh, gosh.
And eventually, Nephi finds Laban drunk and passed out.
Really?
And he's instructed by the Spirit to kill Laban, take the plates, and run.
It's a pretty intense story.
It's a pretty intense story.
Right.
But how does this relate to divine design?
I'm curious to hear your take on it.
Yeah, so finding Laban in that state seems like pure chance.
Totally random.
Right. But Elder Rasband wants us to look deeper.
Okay.
He's like, was he fortunate to just happen upon Laban? Or was it by divine design?
Wow.
So he's suggesting that God kind of orchestrated that encounter to make sure Nephi could get the plates.
To fulfill the mission.
And fulfill his mission.
It's like all planned out.
Yeah, it's like it's not just luck.
Yeah.
It's this specific setup for a greater purpose.
Like every little detail matters.
Yeah, and he doesn't stop at just scriptural examples.
Okay.
He shares a quote from Elder Joseph B. Worthlin.
Oh, wow.
Where President Thomas S. Monson says,
okay,
there's a guiding hand above all things. Often when things happen, it's not by accident.
Right.
One day when we look back at the seeming coincidences of our lives, we will realize that perhaps they weren't so coincidental after all.
That's pretty reassuring, actually.
It's a really reassuring thought. Like, even when life feels chaotic or uncertain.
Right, like you're not alone.
You're not alone.
There's someone.
There's a higher power working things out for you.
Looking out for you.
Yeah, and this brings us to what I found really interesting in the talk.
Okay.
Was how he emphasizes even the smallest unnoticed actions.
Interesting.
He says, one day we will stand as a witness of our whole soul devotion to works of righteousness. Which I think is another way of saying, even the tiny acts of service and kindness you do, even if nobody else sees them, matter to God.
That's actually really cool.
Right. Yeah. It's like it gives
a whole new meaning.
A new meaning.
To everyday life.
To everyday life.
Yeah. It's
like it's not just about these big moments.
Yeah, every choice.
Every choice.
Every action.
Every action even.
Every little act of kindness.
Yeah.
It all adds up.
Has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just pawns on a chessboard.
Yeah.
We're active participants
We have a part to play.
in this grand plan.
Exactly.
And speaking of active participation,
Yeah.
he shares some of his own personal experiences.
That's cool.
You know, his upbringing, meeting his wife, his career, his church callings.
Uh-huh.
And he feels like these weren't just random events. They were part of this bigger plan.
Like it was leading up to something.
Yeah, he's kind of saying, look for those miracles. In your own life, those times you felt guided or protected, even subtly.
Even if it was small.
Yeah. Have you ever had moments like that in your life?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Where you felt like a guiding hand?
Makes you think about all those seemingly random events.
Yeah.
In a whole new light.
What stands out to you from all this?
I think for me, it's the reminder that God is present.
Yeah.
Even in the smallest details.
Yeah.
You know, we often focus on
The big milestones.
the big milestones.
Yeah.
But God's there.
God's there. In
the chance encounters.
chance encounters,
The unexpected opportunities.
unexpected opportunities.
Yeah, the quiet whispers.
The quiet whispers.
Of inspiration.
Of inspiration. It's about noticing
Right.
those moments.
Recognizing his hand.
And recognizing his hand in our lives.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful takeaway.
Yeah. And on that note,
Okay.
he shares this really heartwarming story about his granddaughter
Oh, wow.
unexpectedly reuniting with her missionary brother.
Okay.
Is this brief encounter, but it shows how God can orchestrate events, even small ones, for specific purposes.
It's like those little moments of connection are all part of a bigger plan.
Yeah.
Speaking of bigger plans, we can't forget the story of Sister Ada Chillin.
Oh, yes.
Right.
So Sister Chalon's conversion is full of these, what we might call divine coincidences.
Oh, interesting.
So years before she joined the church, Elder Rasband randomly visited her family.
Really?
And it turns out that visit played a big role in her eventual baptism.
It's like those encounters.
Yeah.
Plant seeds.
It's like
that blossom later on.
Planting a seed that you don't even know.
Exactly.
Doesn't blossom.
Years down the line.
Years later.
You never know.
Right.
How something you do today.
You never know.
Might influence someone.
Yeah.
Years down the line.
That brings up a big question, though.
Okay.
How does our free will fit into all this?
Right. If God's orchestrating everything, where does our agency come in?
Where's our agency?
Yeah.
And he tackles this head on.
Okay, good.
He uses the example of Saul's conversion to Paul.
Okay.
You know, Saul was persecuting Christians.
Yeah.
On his way to arrest more followers of Jesus.
Right.
When he had that blinding vision and became Paul.
And totally changed.
One of the most influential apostles ever.
Talk about a change of plans.
Right.
Wow. So it shows that even when we make choices that lead us astray, God can intervene.
Yeah.
And redirect our course.
Redirect our course.
It's not like we're puppets on a string.
It's not that we don't have agency.
Right.
It's that God knows our potential and can guide us towards fulfilling it.
Even if it's different.
Even if it's different.
From our initial plans.
It's more like a collaborative dance.
A collaborative dance.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
Less about being a puppet on a string.
Yeah.
More about being
willing participant.
Yeah. A willing participant.
Yeah.
In a collaborative dance.
I like that.
And it's important to remember that while God's guiding us, we still have the choice. To follow or resist his promptings.
Yeah, like remember the Nephites?
Yeah, like the Nephites.
In the Book of Mormon?
They turned away from the Lord.
They did.
And lost his protection because of it.
Yeah. Our choices have consequences.
Yeah, choices have consequences.
Right.
Aligning with God's plan brings blessings.
Yeah.
Resisting his guidance can lead to hardship.
But ultimately, there's hope. He leaves us with a message of hope.
Okay, good.
He quotes Romans 8:28, which says, "All things work together for good to them that love God."
I love that verse.
Yeah, and that ties back to that chessboard analogy.
It does, right? Yeah.
Even those moves that seem negative or confusing right now can ultimately contribute to a larger positive outcome.
It's like, even when you don't understand why things are happening.
We might not always understand why things happen the way they do. But we can trust that God's working it all out.
He's working it all out for our good.
For our good. It's a message of hope. And reassurance.
Especially when life feels chaotic.
Especially when life feels chaotic or unpredictable. But we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, we have.
Join us for part 2 of this deep dive.
I'm excited.
Where we'll continue exploring Elder Rasband's insights and how we can better recognize God's hand in our lives.
Sounds good. It's interesting how Elder Rasband talks about this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like divine design, not just as something passive, where we just kind of
sit back
and let things happen.
Let it happen to us.
But it's like we're actively collaborating with God.
Yeah, he uses that phrase on the Lord's errand to describe how we should be actively involved in this process. What do you think it means to be on the Lord's errand in our everyday lives?
I think it means a few things, aligning our will with God's will for sure.
Okay.
Seeking his guidance. And then actually acting on it.
Taking action.
Yeah, it's not just about,
sitting around thinking about
giving up our agency or anything.
Yeah.
But it's about working with God.
Working with him.
Yeah, to fulfill that unique mission he has for each of us.
So it's more like we're co-creating our lives with God.
I like that.
We're bringing our own unique talents and experiences.
Yeah, like our own creativity and stuff to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And when you look at life that way, it's like even those challenges you face.
The setbacks, the hard things.
Yeah, they become opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
We can look at those tough times not as these random things, but as experiences that are shaping us. Yeah, into who we're supposed to become.
It reminds me of that quote from the talk where he says, "No trial or calamity can derail God's plan of happiness."
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
Right?
And reassuring.
It's so reassuring.
Yeah.
Like even when things go wrong, it's like
God's still gotcha.
He's still working it out.
Yeah, and it all comes back to trusting in God's timing.
Yeah. We might not always understand why things happen the way they do.
Why certain doors close.
Why that door closes.
While others open. But we can have faith.
We can have faith.
That he's working it all out.
That he's working it all out.
For our good.
Yeah. And it's funny how those closed doors sometimes lead us to even better paths.
It's true. Yeah.
Than we could have imagined for ourselves.
Yeah. Remember the story of Joseph?
Oh, yeah.
In the Old Testament?
Joseph in Egypt.
Yeah. He was sold into slavery by his brothers.
What a rough start.
Falsely accused.
Imprisoned.
Talk about a rough start.
Yeah.
But, he never gave up hope.
Yeah.
And eventually his trials led him to a position of power where he saved countless people from famine.
It's a reminder that God can use those difficult experiences to refine us, prepare us, and put us in a place where we can do
even greater good.
Even greater good.
Exactly. That's the beauty of this whole divine design thing.
Yeah.
It's not a straight line.
It's not a straight line.
It's a journey.
Full of twists and turns.
Unexpected detours.
Yeah.
And seemingly random encounters.
And when we look back, we can see it was orchestrated.
All along.
All along.
Yeah, it's about having that faith to trust the process.
Yeah, even when we don't understand it.
Even when it's hard. And recognizing that those seemingly insignificant or random moments might actually be turning points.
Turning points.
In our lives.
Yeah, and I think Elder Rasband encourages us to cultivate that awareness.
How do we do that?
Paying attention to the little things.
Okay.
Those whispers of the Spirit, the synchronicities, those moments that feel like more than just coincidence.
More than just coincidence.
Yeah, it's like he's inviting us to be more present.
To be present.
Yeah. In our lives.
In our lives.
We look for those signs of God's presence.
And when we do that, we start to see patterns and connections. We start to see that we're not just living a series of random events, but we're part of
larger, divinely orchestrated.
Divinely orchestrated story.
Yeah, and that story isn't just about us.
Right.
It's about everyone around us.
Everyone around us.
Yeah, we're all connected.
Yeah.
And each of us plays a role.
We have a role to play.
In this big interconnected web.
This big web.
Of human experience. Yeah, it's a reminder that our actions.
Yeah, even the small ones.
Even the small ones.
Can have this ripple effect.
Yeah, we might never know the full impact of a kind word.
A helping hand.
Or just a moment of genuine connection.
Yeah, but God can use those little acts.
Right, to weave together.
To weave together something beautiful.
So it's not just about our own individual journey.
It's about contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
And that brings us to the question of purpose.
Yeah, what is our purpose?
If we're all part of this
divine design.
What is our unique contribution?
What are we each meant to do?
Yeah, that's a big question.
That's a big question.
And, Elder Rasband talks about how God knows our potential even better than we know ourselves.
Better than we know ourselves.
And he's always working.
Always working.
To help us fulfill it.
To fulfill it.
Even if it takes us on a path.
A path we didn't expect.
We didn't expect, yeah. It's about discovering our unique gifts and passions and then using them.
Yeah, to bless the world around us.
Exactly. Figuring out what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And then taking action.
Taking action.
To make it happen.
That takes courage.
It does.
Sometimes you have to let go of your own limited vision.
Of what you think.
Of what you think your life should be.
Yeah, you've got to let go of that need.
Yeah.
To control every little detail.
Yeah.
And just trust that God's leading you.
To something greater.
To something even greater.
Than we can imagine.
Than we could have imagined for ourselves.
It's about being open to stepping outside our comfort zones.
Exactly. Yeah.
And allowing ourselves to be guided.
And by the Spirit.
By the Spirit.
It's about becoming instruments.
Instruments.
In God's hand.
Yeah.
Allowing Him to work through us.
It takes humility.
It does.
A willingness to admit.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers.
And a deep trust.
And His deep trust.
In God's wisdom.
In His wisdom and love.
Yeah. And when we do that, we open ourselves up.
To a whole new level.
To a level of joy and peace.
Yeah.
That we could never achieve on our own.
It's like we become...
It's like we're part of something.
Part of something truly magnificent.
Magnificent and eternal.
Oh, I love that image.
Right.
And, speaking of looking back.
Yeah.
Elder Rasband encourages us to do that.
And reflect on our lives.
Yeah, to reflect on our lives and see those moments where divine design was at work.
Where we can see it.
Yeah, to remember those blessings.
Yeah.
And just acknowledge the ways God's been guiding us.
Protecting us.
Protecting us.
It's about cultivating gratitude.
It is.
Recognizing the hand of God in our lives, even in the small things.
Absolutely. And it's also about looking ahead with hope.
Looking ahead with hope.
Knowing that God isn't finished with us yet.
God's not finished with us yet.
He has plans for us.
Plans.
That we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's about living each day.
Yeah.
With a sense of purpose. Knowing that we're part of
something truly extraordinary.
Something extraordinary.
And that even those smallest moments, the chance encounters.
Those chance encounters.
They're unexpected opportunities.
Unexpected opportunities.
Might be part of something bigger.
Part of this bigger plan.
That's unfolding all around.
Unfolding all around us. This has been such an insightful conversation.
It has been.
We've explored this concept of divine design.
Yeah.
Looking at examples from Scripture.
Real life experiences.
Real life experiences. And I think we've seen how recognizing this principle can change our perspective.
Absolutely.
And bring more meaning and purpose
to our lives.
And maybe most importantly, we've seen how this awareness can empower us to become active participants.
In God's plan.
In God's plan.
Embracing our unique roles.
Embracing our unique roles.
In His grand design.
You've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
But there's still more to explore.
Always.
Join us for part 3.
I can't wait.
As we delve even deeper into the implications of divine design and how we can actively partner with God in this incredible journey.
That was good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into divine design.
It's been a great conversation.
It has been. We've been exploring this idea that seemingly random events in our lives might actually be orchestrated by a higher power.
Yeah, like it's not just coincidence.
Yeah. Using Elder Ronald Rasband's talk as our guide.
Right. A lot of great insights there.
Yeah. And as we wrap up, I think it's important to kind of shift from the theoretical to the practical.
Right.
How do we actually apply this concept?
Yeah. Like, how do we actually live it?
Of divine design.
Out in our everyday lives.
In our everyday lives, how do we move from just thinking about it to really living it?
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the big question. And thankfully, he gives us some practical advice.
Okay, good. I'm listening.
He encourages us to be on the lookout for those moments where we see God's hand. And not just in the big picture.
Right.
But even in those little details.
Those little details, yeah.
He even asks, what are God's miracles that remind you that He is close?
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's about becoming more aware of God's presence in our lives.
How can we do that?
Well, he says we can do that by paying attention to the little things.
Okay.
Those moments of serendipity.
Yeah, those times when you're just like, how did that happen?
Yeah, those times when we feel guided or protected.
Yeah.
In a way we can't explain.
Almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I think it really requires a shift in how we think.
Yeah, like instead of
just assuming.
Yeah, that everything's random.
That everything's random or just coincidence.
Or just a coincidence, yeah.
Start looking for the purpose, the meaning.
The divine orchestration.
Yeah, the divine orchestration.
In our experience.
In our experience.
Yeah, so we could ask ourselves.
Yeah.
What is God trying to teach me?
What is God trying to teach me through this?
Yeah.
Or how is this experience preparing me for something bigger down the road?
Right. Those are good questions to ask.
Yeah. And that leads us to another practical step.
Okay.
Seeking guidance.
Seeking guidance. Okay.
So if we believe that God is actively involved in our lives,
yeah,
it makes sense to
ask for his advice.
To ask for his advice.
To seek his direction.
To include him in our decision.
Include him in the decision-making process.
Yeah, and there are so many ways to do that.
Yeah, like what are some examples?
It could be through prayer.
Yep.
Studying the scriptures. Meditating.
Yeah, just quieting your mind.
Quieting our minds, listening for that still small voice.
That still small voice.
Of inspiration.
Of inspiration. I think the most important thing is that we're open to receiving it.
Open to receiving that guidance.
Even if it takes us out of our comfort zone.
Takes us out of our comfort zone or challenges our own ideas.
Challenges our own preconceived notions.
It's not just about sitting back and waiting for those signs of divine design.
It's
about actively seeking God's will.
Yeah, taking that step.
And then stepping out in faith.
Stepping out in faith.
Oh, align our lives.
Align our lives.
With his purposes.
With his purposes.
And that takes trust.
Trusting that God knows best.
Yeah, trusting that God knows what's best for us even when we don't.
Even when we don't, yeah.
Trusting that his plan for our lives
is better.
Even better than anything we could come up with on our own.
And
I think that trust grows stronger.
As we go through life. Yeah, the more
when we seek God's guidance.
Seek his guidance.
And we see how he leads us.
Yeah.
How he opens doors.
How he orchestrates those events.
And orchestrates events for our good.
Yeah, our faith in his divine design.
Our faith naturally increases.
It's almost like a cycle of faith, trust, and action.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us
to a deeper sense of
joy, peace, and fulfillment.
Yeah. So what does this all mean for our listeners?
Right, like how can they
take this concept?
Take this concept and actually live it out.
Of divine design and actually live it out.
In their own lives.
Well, I think it starts with changing our perspective.
Okay.
Instead of thinking that life is just
a series of random events.
Yeah. Start looking for the purpose. The meaning. The divine orchestration in your experiences.
Yeah, ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me through this?
Yeah. What is God trying to teach me?
How is this experience helping me become the person I'm meant to be?
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask for guidance.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask.
Pray. Study the scriptures. Meditate.
Yeah. Really listen.
And really listen for those promptings.
From the Spirit, God's always communicating.
God's always communicating with us.
But we have to be tuned in.
To hear.
To hear what he's saying. And then the most important step is to act on it.
Take action.
Take action when you feel that guidance.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Yeah, don't hesitate.
Take that step.
Even if it's scary.
Even if it feels scary or uncertain. Just trust that God is leading you.
Yeah, trust that he's leading you to something amazing.
Yeah. This has been
such a great deep dive.
Yeah, it's been really insightful.
We've explored this idea of divine design.
We've looked at examples.
Looking at examples from scripture.
From real life.
Real life experiences.
And, we've seen how understanding this principle.
Yeah.
Can really change our perspective.
And give our lives more meaning. And purpose.
More purpose. Yeah, we've learned that recognizing God's hand in our lives.
Yeah.
Can empower us to become those active participants.
In his plan.
Embracing our unique role.
In
his grand design.
And as we wrap up our deep dive, we'll leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
What seemingly random event in your life might actually be part of something much bigger?
That's a good question to ponder.
Yeah. It takes some time to think about your own experiences.
And see if you can recognize those moments.
Yeah.
Where God's hand was at work.
The intricate workings. Of his divine design.
Until next time. Keep seeking. Keep trusting. And keep living in alignment with that amazing purpose.
That's unfolding all around us.